Good evening, witches, warlocks, sorcerers, and adepts, to the newest episode of Knights of the Nephilim podcast, brought to you by Celestial Oddities Radio. I will be your host and guide on this mystic and mysterious journey that we call Magick. My name is Reverend Frater Crow, and I want to thank you for listening in tonight. Whether you are listening live or you have streamed or downloaded this episode after the fact, I want to thank you for your support, but make sure you click the like, share, and follow buttons on whatever platform you're listening to us from iTunes to iHeartRadio, Spotify, Deezer, Spreaker, Castbox, Google Play, Amazon, you name it, we're on it. So listen where you feel most comfortable, but the more that you click those like and share buttons, the more that it moves us up the podcast community rankings, more people that discover the show, keeps you in the loop with all new episodes as they air, and also lets you jump through our past archives so that way you never miss a thing. If you are a fan of occult knowledge, there is something for absolutely everyone, so don't miss it. If you are new to our show, we do air to you 3 times per month, Thursday nights, 8 to 9:30 rather, Eastern Standard Time on Thursday evenings, 3 times a month, as I said, bringing you the biggest and best names in the occult as far as authors, practitioners, historians, ritual toolmakers, and everything in between. You can't certainly find something here that you don't like if you're, like I said, an occultist. So we bring on a lot of different influential people from all different backgrounds of spirituality and, different paths. We are heavily leaning towards the left, but we bring on and welcome everyone. We always love hearing thought-provoking material and ideas, and that's certainly what we bring for you. So if you like the show, spread it around, tell friends about it. If you're new to the show, welcome. We do want to thank our sponsors, The Talismancer, Limitless Liberations, and Goetic Impressions. I will take a break tonight throughout the episode, talk a little bit more about each of the 3 of those sponsors, tell you where you can check them out at, and where you can pick up a piece of their work. Phenomenal items that these guys and gals make. They charge your temple, they charge your altar space, they help bring more power to your rituals, and it's something that I certainly stand behind each and every one of them. So make sure that you listen for that. Some of them do give promo codes for, discounts off of their work. That's always a nice bonus. So stay tuned. Each and every episode, we bring someone awesome onto the show. Tonight, we certainly have, that as well. So we are going to jump into who our guest is tonight, and that is Necro Nicki. And I know there's a lot of people out there that have messaged me about this episode and said they're pretty excited for her to be on the show. So we're going to welcome her in just a moment. She is known for several things, but one of the biggest things is she is an ASMR meditation guide. And if you don't know what that means, that is Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, or also called Auto-Sensory Meridian Response. And that can really be described as a tingling sensation that's typical, and it begins on your scalp, moves down the back and neck and upper spine. I always attribute this to, if you've ever talked to someone, and for some reason when you're talking to them, their voice just sends tingles up and down your body, and you're like, wow, I don't know why I did that, it just did. She does this each and every time with her videos in a very profound way. She helps really relax someone when they're listening to her videos. I have listened to several. They're great. I love what she does. It's unique. It's different. It stands out. And aside from that, she is also an occultist on the left-hand path, and I love to hear the different things she says in her videos. So I'm going to let you tell you a little bit more about herself in just a moment, but before we do that, Necro Nicki, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Greetings and hello everyone. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. I was glad to get you on. It's as I say to most of my guests that come on, I bring on people, that I personally like their material, whether it be a book, whether it be videos, whatever it might be. I don't just bring on names that people want to see, even though I would consider that. I bring on people that I personally like. And I've been watching your work for a while, and I love what you do. And I think, like I said, it stands out. There's no one else doing specifically what you do in the way that you do, or certainly no one that has your look, and I love it. It all comes together in one great package.
Yes, I appreciate that. I do feel as though a lot of ASMRists are doing magic. Some do Reiki, but as far as more on the darker side, even though I am balanced, I feel like that's what makes me stand out,
I believe it does, yes, because like you said, there are others doing similar, but with your look and with your sense of how you do it and the darker element that you bring to it, it sets it aside from most in the field, and it stands out to them.
Yes.
Now, why don't you, I always start out traditional on my shows. I like to jump in, as any interview should, and say, how did you get into occultism? How did you get into ASMR? How did you get into this whole lifestyle? I mean, what led you from a child up to this point into this lifestyle?
Yeah, there's kind of different elements to this answer because I think about this question a lot because, when we meet people in the community, this is often what gets brought up. And so it's a mixture of when I was younger, I'd see shadow people. And then, even as a baby, I was very interested in the occult. I mean, I don't know if we'd go that far to the occult, but at least witchcraft, I was always drawn towards that. And then just having crazy, super, paranormal experiences and just understanding how powerful just saying something was, and I just started reading books and just had insane experiences, which just led me to want more. And it just started getting addicting, and just having friends that are also sorcerers as well.
That's kind of how it started out for me, and I think that's something similar. We actually had a forum going on in one of the Facebook groups that there was several of us talking about that, about how most of us noticed a similarity of how we got started into the occult world was seeing spirits and having very paranormal activity that happened as children that for some reason opened the doorway for us and led us down this path. And I said, I don't know if I necessarily believe that that's by mistake, that sometimes I think that people that are gifted in this life and in the occult have been shown these spirits. They have visited us for a specific reason and awoke us to be able to now say, wait a second, there's something very different out there than what I believed. And it launches us into that world, whereas others don't see that because maybe they didn't have that gift. I do believe that everyone has those gifts hidden, but I think that there are people for some reason or another that were meant to travel this path. Everyone can get on it, but I just noticed that there's a heavy similarity of a lot of practitioners were children who happen to see a lot of ghosts.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I talk to a lot of new people on the daily, and sometimes someone will say, I'm not psychic, and I usually have to tell them everyone's psychic, you just got to tap into it. And when I ponder on why do some people have experiences early on, I almost feel as though people who have experiences early on are maybe advanced in the spiritual realm. So then as a baby, they've had a certain amount of past lives. It's kind of like they're at a different level and they're just more in tune with their spirituality, so they're able to already have those experiences, Well,
I think that's it. Is some people just have it automatically a little bit more, connection on the wavelength that you need to be on to have those experiences. Others are a little further off, so it takes a little bit more work for them to get there. And as time goes on, if you're a child who hasn't experienced it, I think it gets harder for a lot of people. I always have made the comparison that a child is like a satellite dish that is brand new. It's installed, it's picking up great reception. It is firing the best that it will at that time. Now, over time, storms hit it, dust hit it, dirt hit it, and it starts to slowly get corroded with these other things, and it doesn't pick up the signal near as good. And that happens to a lot of children that might be so open to see and experience these things, but over time, it kind of gets dulled and tucked away. Now, for some of us, we keep our senses sharp, so we're always a clean satellite dish, always picking up that reception. But I think so many people, after a while, they get jaded by the world that they don't see those things. They don't even realize that they exist anymore. When they say, all these people talk about these experiences, I've never experienced anything. Well, you probably have, but you were probably so young that you don't remember. And over time, you've blocked those things out because, as you said, everyone has these abilities. It's just some of us are a little bit more prone. Some of us cater to it. And I think it's a big part of mental health in the sense of catering to your mind to be open. Not that you have something wrong with your mind, but meditation. Meditation is the biggest way to tap into those hidden locked powers that most people don't realize they have.
Yeah, exactly. Because some people will, even those who are interested in the occult, but they don't actually have the paranormal experiences or do rituals. There's some people who just read, and then they'll have a ton of questions and they'll read. And I just say, just experiment with it, try it, you know what I mean? Because you got to try the magic and use your imagination. Because if you just read on it, you're just gonna absorb the knowledge. It's just a crazy experience. Sometimes it's hard to explain things, you know?
It is. I mean, it really is. And I mean, that is the thing. And that's why I made the slogan of the show, Step Into the Circle, because we've talked about it on past episodes, is there's nothing wrong with being someone who researches nonstop. That is myself. I constantly read. I mean, the amount of books and knowledge that I read is absurd to most people, but I am also a heavy practitioner. Now, the problem is there's a lot of people that want to be a practitioner, but they only read and research, and they never take the steps to actually making any of it manifest and come to reality. And that's the problem is, you know, I've been reading for years, I've been practicing for years, getting myself ready. Well, that's admirable, but until you step into the circle, you have no idea what you're getting into, because you might step in your first ritual, realize that half the shit that you learned and studied got thrown right out the window. If you're happy with just being someone who researches, there's people I know and authors in the occult that I know that are not practitioners. They are simply people who love the occult and love the mystery of it, and they write about it, but they are not magicians, and that's okay. But I find that there's that middle part, that you know, all my friends are getting into magic and they're all doing these things, and I don't seem to experience it. I don't know why. What's happening? Well, when's the last time you've done a ritual? I never have. Well, then there you go. I don't understand why there's such a fear of taking that first step.
Yeah, and meditation, like you mentioned, is very powerful because it strengthens your mind.
No, absolutely. I mean, it takes where you're at and it just catapults it into a whole new realm. The deeper you dive, the more you discover not only of the world and of what you can do, but of yourself. I mean, I don't know if I ever truly knew who I was until I really started meditating on life and myself and dug deep and really dug into the shadow realms and faced myself and figured out I wasn't who I thought I was. I was living in an illusion that I had created, and once I started to slowly tear down the walls of that illusion, the real me woke up. And a lot of people hear that and they don't understand what that means, and you can't until you start doing that shadow work, until you start digging within yourself. But folks out there, if you have never done these things, there is a very good chance of who you think you are is not who you actually are. It's just the character that you created.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of us, or, you know, well, I'd say all of us have shadows, which are feelings and just either past or current situations that you've held in and you haven't really worked out. You don't realize how they're affecting you. That's, you know, you could have just trauma you don't really realize. And how I know I have shadow work to do is usually if someone from my past gets brought up, or I keep having a reoccurring dream, or someone I know either from a past life or, you know, this life, and that just gives me a hint. Do I feel as though I still have some work to do to either mend what we had, you know, in some shape or another? And that's kind of how I mostly do my shadow work.
And it's important because you peel back those layers. It's like, it's an onion, you know. I mean, the more you peel, the more you find. And you're like, holy shit, there's another layer right there that I need to peel back and work on. Because we constantly need to work on ourselves. And just when you think like, hey, I got it all figured out, boom, there's another onion to start peeling. And it's incredible. I think it's amazing and something everyone should do. And one of our last episodes, a couple episodes ago, I believe, I had asked my guest, and I'll ask you. I mean, obviously, I think I already know your response, but I have come across people in the occult field who practice magic, but they don't believe in meditation. And I find that to be a very strange thing. But I've come across different people that say, oh, I don't meditate. I do ritual, which, I mean, is kind of a form of meditation in itself. But I do ritual, I study, I research, but I don't actually ever just meditate. I don't find a use for it. What is your thought on the necessity of needing to meditate? I mean, do you feel that someone can truly be a powerful, sorcerer or sorceress, without meditation, or do you feel that that is pretty much a vital piece of it?
I feel as though you can be powerful because I've done things in my first years of getting into the occult that, if I even told you right now, you'd think, yeah, sure. It's just, you'd have to be there to see it. And those were the years where I wasn't meditating. So I feel as though you can be powerful and have powerful rituals, but meditation, it really quiets the mind and it gets you to a higher level. So it's more of a higher vibration. When you have strength of your mind, you'll be able to react or not react in certain situations. And being at that higher level will definitely empower your ritual work. So say I'm doing a consultation with someone, always I say do meditation every day. And I know we're all busy. We both had very busy days all up until we started this podcast episode. And I would say, if you're that busy, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes is so good, and when I was really training, I was doing an hour a day, and it helped me get to the point where now I can do a lot of astral work and lucid dreaming. It's where my brain muscle, I would say. I even call it the brain chakra. I just kind of make up things and my brain chakra. And so that is at the point where I've trained it to really strengthen how I interact with people. And some of the shadow work that I guess I would say is shadow work that I'm working on right now is how I react and with people in the community, because my mindset has really changed this year. I want to serve the community more. I want to be an example where in the past I might have, complained or criticized. I really think before I talk now and show and hope to be an uplifting leader, an example to others with my actions. And not to get on too much of a rant, but that has to do with meditation, me getting to that higher level.
Well, I think it does, because for a long time, like I said, I lived an illusion of who I thought I was. I was, pretty well known in the underground circuit with music. I had ran a label. I was doing a lot of things that I was proud of, but I made it my life. It consumed me. And for years and years, that's all I focused on, all I cared about. And then, I was always into spirituality and always into the left-hand path. I've been a Satanist for 17 years. It's always been important to me. But I started really doing what I call real meditation. And it was diving deeper. And like you said, taking those longer meditations. It wasn't uncommon for me to do, 15, 20, 25 minutes. But that's when I started diving into hour and, 30 minutes and getting really deep and doing some different pre-workups to these meditations. And as I started doing that, it was like I knocked layers of rust off and I started awakening. And when I did that, I started seeing life different, seeing that I wasn't who I thought I was, as I mentioned earlier, and the things that I had value in no longer had value for me. And it was a pretty rapid change for most people. And it's funny that most people say at the beginning of their journeys when they had their spiritual awakening, and that's why I got onto my journey. Mine was different. I had amazing moments, amazing rituals and outcomes, manifestations for a 15-year span. But 2 years ago, I had an epiphany, and it literally made me kill myself. And what I mean by that is everything that I was, who I was to people, what I was involved with, I destroyed and ended. I just vanished. I handed my company over, my empire that I built for free, didn't even want it. I just gave it away. I quit doing music. I deleted all the stuff that was online for the most part, and I just vanished. And as you said, and the reason I bring this up is it started making me say, you know what? There's a lot of occultists out there. There is a lot of knowledge out there. There's a lot of groups and different things. But how many true leaders are there out there? How many people can teach people to get onto their path? How many people can help people along and give them true gnosis? And I felt that I could take that role. And not that I'm anything special by anything. I'm nothing. But I felt that I could bring a different source, a different current to the scene that is currently out there, and that is what I've been doing for the last 2 years pretty fluidly. No, I know there's some people probably listening out there that seen my post yesterday, and you're like, dude, what? Because there are people that I bust their balls. I mean, when someone just comes to me and says, make me rich or show me how to be a master overnight, I will literally laugh at you. I will not help you. Like I said before, I will not give the keys to the kingdom to those that grovel at the gates. And I stand by that. If you truly come to me and you want to learn, I will teach you. But if you come to me and just expect freebies and me to hand you the keys of knowledge that I've spent 17 years reading and researching to discover through ritual, then no, that will not happen. So I'm very with you on that, Nikki, that you know what, there's people like us that need to take those roles and give back to the community in one way or another.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it's funny when they ask questions that are very, about this realm when it comes to getting the hot chick or whatnot. Yeah, I'll do spells for guys that want to get their ex or whatever back, because I understand we were all there, but as I have clients and work with them more, say, for example, one guy, he kept getting love spell after love spell. Him and his girlfriend, they would get in a fight. He'd say, these really work. We got an argument. Can you please do another sweetening spell? So we do it. And then I throw him little gems of knowledge. Okay, so make sure you do your meditation. And all right, this is actually what I'm doing. If you ever want to do this spell on your own, you can do it. So sometimes people are at that low level, but it's kind of in the middle, because I'll let you know, some of my first rituals were actually cursing my ex-boyfriends.
Okay.
So, so everyone's got to start somewhere. 15 years ago, I love doing curses. That was my favorite. So,
Well, you have to have a starting ground. I mean, and we all do. And whether it's candle magic, whether it's casting hexes and curses, whether it's summoning spirits, that was always my forte. That was the weird kid. At 15, 16 years old, I definitely stood out from most kids I went to school with, and they knew that my focus was, I want to summon devils. And it wasn't like the cool, let's be a badass, even though I did wear all black and painted my nails, and I was kind of the gothic-y long-haired stoner kid, but at the same time, I was serious about it. I was like, I want to summon and open portals to different worlds. And that's what I focused on, but I didn't have a respect for it then that I have for it now, and know what I was doing back then. But it just leads you down this path, and that's the things that I want to help people with, is maybe I can speed up someone's progression. Maybe I can knock 7 years of my journey that I had where I was dabbling away from someone and jump them from A to B. Now, I think that there's a very big importance in felling sometimes. So as I said, I will not just give the keys to the kingdom away, but sometimes you can help someone speed it along. But no one can expect to get it overnight. I mean, make me rich. Well, buddy, it doesn't work like that. And if you don't have the power to pick up a book and read for yourself, you sure as hell don't have the power to be rich and handle that responsibility.
Yeah, that person's going to definitely be experiencing a lot of lessons and understanding how things work, not even just in this realm, but other realms, because I'm sure as once you start developing relationships with a lot of these deities, they show you what's truly important, which is a lot of spiritual work, preparing, and what's going on in the astral as well, and bettering yourself through all these lessons, as opposed to, whatever that guy wanted,
Well, and I think a lot of people have a misconception of what happiness is. They think being famous and rich is happy. And that it very well can be for some people, but I think the misconception is that if I have those things, it's automatically going to bring me happiness. But how many people are filthy rich and completely alone? How many people are dirt poor and absolutely ecstatic about life? I would, rather be absolutely dirt broke, but love life and see joy in everything and love everyone and have unconditional love until given reason otherwise. And that right there is being rich. You are rich, world rich, spiritually rich. Whereas that person with mountains of money, that Scrooge McDuck out there, is sitting in his mansion alone, hating himself because, yes, he has everything he ever wanted except the things that actually matter.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just that's something I'm gonna be vulnerable with saying that I'm working on is, I would say most of my magic doesn't even deal with prosperity of anything coming, in that sense. I like to think of is, okay, if what I'm doing is fun, if what I'm doing is on my path and purpose, I will be successful because there's no, other way about it. And once people realize that when they're on their path where they're supposed to be and everything just feels right, that's when things are going to align, and you'll have gratitude that way as well, where you won't have that, be in that program state where most people are, where there's this fake matrix and they're just looking at the rappers with the chicks twerking and they wish, hey, why don't I have that with the big chain? It's all ingrained, and it's all set up to program people to constantly feel as though they're not in the state of gratitude. And once you just even go outside and you're in nature, breathing fresh air, connecting with the earth, seeing how beautiful things are, and being in a peaceful state of mind, that's where it's at.
I agree. I mean, and you've nailed it, because we are programmed from a very early age of what we're told happiness is, what success looks like, what beauty looks like. Oh, that's not beautiful. Beautiful's this. Well, who says? Who says that this is happiness, being rich or having everything in those rap videos, like you said? Because truth be told, as someone who's involved in that scene and knew some very successful rappers who are world famous, some of them I talked to didn't give a shit about that anymore. They have those things, and they're like, honestly, bro, I've gotten here. I have everything that people ever wanted, and that's why I mentioned that earlier, is, you know what, it's not all it's cracked up to be, is sometimes I wish I could just disappear and go back to being a regular guy, because there's so much freedom there. And like you said, walking through the woods, sitting next to a little small waterfall next to a stream, and meditating and hearing the sounds of the woods and the animals and connecting to Mother Nature, that right there is rich. That's prosperity. That is the true definition of connecting with life and being happy, is not needing anything. But the things that are already around you, the earth that we were born on. And I think we lose sight of that because we're so programmed that we need more, more, more. It's always about objects and what can we have as far as material gain, rather than we already have everything we need around us and in us. And they try to break us of that so people forget it.
Yes, exactly. Today I went on a little hike in my area. I used to live in California. Now I live in Indiana. So it's very different from me going out to Hollywood all the time. And now I'm in Indiana, where there's not farms, but
it's a very flat, strange state. I've been to Indiana before.
I haven't really seen any farms. Luckily, my area is a little more urban than you would imagine. But yeah, I like it. Just the time seems to go by slower, the pace, and just it's a more simple way of living. A lot of people, because say I'm making friends or talking to people out here, they usually ask me, why? You live in California, why would you move out over here? There are beautiful areas in California, but where I was living in Orange County and LA area, it's where that mindset of the brainwashing and the programming and just the way of life is a lot different. So,
it's absolutely different over on the West Coast compared to the East Coast or even Central USA. I mean, it's not only the culture and people, but the landscape and the look and the feel, the towns, the cities. It's amazing, honestly. Just take our country and not even consider all the other 100 countries out there. When you look at just our country and you go from one side to the other and just kind of scope through the different towns and cities and states, how different the people and the environment are. It's amazing.
Yes.
I've been to, like you said, you're from California. I've been, and I like it. Not for me, not a place that I would care to ever live. I mean, I do love the nature out there. That's one thing I'll give the West Coast is states like, Washington are gorgeous. I mean, the trees, the forest, the hiking trails, that is me. I love nature. So that I will give them. There's a lot of that here in Pennsylvania, but it's just on a much bigger scale over there. But yeah, I get you, is you know what, it's a different way of life, and sometimes you need to break that up and find out who you are in a different area, because I think the different places you live in life also help change your path of who you are and who you will be, because it exposes you to a lot of different stimuli as far as things that are going to change you.
Absolutely. There's a lot of really sick cemeteries out here from the 1800s. I need to explore more. The snow finally melted. There's Lake Erie, which apparently there's been a lot of alien activity in that area. So I want to check that out. And, I went for a walk. It was a little windy today, but yeah, I'm going to explore a lot more because I'm sure there's a lot of paranormal stuff out here just in hot spots.
Oh, absolutely. It's everywhere. Let me tell you, as a vet in the paranormal field, I say go out there, explore those graveyards and those trails and some of the weird things that are out there. And if you try to tap into it and you try to channel it, it will come. That's a big thing. Is I have so many people ask me, how do you have these experiences? And I never experienced anything. I'm like, trust me, if you go out by yourself, don't take your friends, don't take a group of you, just go out to a local cemetery, sit and talk out loud to the spirits, be true of mind, body, will, and intent, and just speak to them and ask them to speak to you or give you a sign. And I guarantee if you do it 5 or 6 times, out of those 5 or 6 times, you're going to have 1 or 2 amazing experiences.
Yes, one of our mutual friends actually told me that your experience with spirit boxes, is that true?
Yes, I'm experienced quite a lot of things. Spirit boxes are fun, don't get me wrong. I like to use other tools, but spirit boxes can be very interesting. I've actually started adapting them heavily into my demonic rituals.
Okay, yeah. So I actually don't like using tools like that because I could see if, most of the time, if there's ghosts or guides or deities, I'm at that level where I don't need the tools. I just think they're cool to be able to show someone, hey, there's a spirit talking on here. So I got a spirit box. I haven't used it too much. The thing is, when I have been using it, it goes so fast. And sometimes, if you're asking a question, it's like, yes, if you have it going really fast. And so what one of my friends told me is you always got to actually record it, because sometimes, because it's talking so fast, you might not catch it or put all the pieces together with what the spirit's trying to tell you. And my friend also said that sometimes you might not even hear what they're saying at the time, but the video recording will catch it. So do you think that's true?
Absolutely.
Is vital.
You'll get some vital answers on the box itself in live time, but with recording it, you will go back, and it's no easy process. It's a love-hate relationship, because here's the thing with paranormal investigations. I love them. I go out there first and foremost for mainly the experience, to connect with spirits and to talk with them, to feel that energy. I don't go out there to record and catch evidence to display for other people or to get big off of it. Then we're just side things that are nice from it. But with the spirit box, I say it's a love and hate, because you'll record it, and even listening back to the recording, you're not going to catch everything. Sometimes you have to listen to it over and over and over again. You might spend 6 hours listening to an hour, or a 40-minute spirit box section, but then you'll go through it and end up finding out that you got 35 answers, clear as day. And that's why spirit boxes can be fun. They are very subjective, because if you have 5 people in a room and it blurps out a thing real quick, someone says, it just said Christina. Maybe everyone heard something similar to that, but now automatically you planted the seed that it's Christina, and 3 of the other 5 are going to be like, yes, it did say that. And it can lead a session in ways that are not necessarily legit, and that's the reason I don't like them. But I do like it for the fact that I do a lot of investigating alone. So what I hear, I go with my gut feeling on it, but I'll also go back and cross-reference that on reviewing of the evidence. And there's been some amazing answers, some wild things, because I agree with you. There's a lot of times I'll just go into a full-blown channeling session through meditation and have correspondence and conversations that way. I prefer that any day over a spirit box, but sometimes to hear their actual voice, because a lot of times I'm having visions and seeing things whenever I'm doing my channeling sessions, whereas the spirit box is a little different, because for instance, the other night on Saturday, I went to the famous Hillview Manor, very, very active location, and we heard a gentleman come through about 16 or 17 times, same exact voice, same way of speaking, and it was him over and over again, and that's not something I would normally pick up on a channeling session. So it just adds another, sprinkle on the cake.
Yeah, and the spirit will actually have to want to communicate, because if they're going to manifest physically or use an object, they're going to have that desire. And some of my guides, such as Azazel, he would laugh in my face and just leave if I even try and use a pendulum. Why would you use that? I like to give this analogy of, you go on mountain bike rides with your friends all the time, and then all of a sudden you show up with training wheels on your mountain bike. They would just laugh at you and say, what the hell are you doing, dude? So especially when your guides or spirits know that you're at a certain level. The thing that got me interested actually in getting a professional spirit box was, long story short, there was someone I used to work with, and we were both into the paranormal. And then he had one of those apps on his phone. And so he just said, hey, check out this app. And he told me this story about how it actually worked for him and was a legit spirit box app. And I said, okay. And then we would exchange paranormal stories all the time. There was one story that I hadn't told him yet. And then so when he started asking the spirit on the app, he said, okay, tell me about Nicki. And then the words were coming up, funny, honest, and just really nice things. And my friend was just making a joke saying, are you sure you're talking about Nicki? And then I started talking to the app. And then I said, who is this? Are there any spirits here in this room that want to speak with us? And then the word piano came up. And there was this ghost that I had a lot of communication with back in the day, who was actually attached to a piano. And it was that just always intrigued me towards them, towards the spirit boxes, because that was a cool story.
No, it is, and they'll give you hints to things that, like I said, it's almost like a different way of channeling, in a way that it's more of a material way of channeling, but it'll give you sometimes things and clues that you wouldn't get during a normal session of channeling. Now, as you said, there's ways of using it properly, there's ways of not, and when I said I use it for demonic work, I have been doing experiments. I'm a big experimental magician, where I'm very efficient at summoning and evocation, invocation, and a lot of other methods, but I started adding spins to things where I'm like, what would happen if I tried this or do that? And one of the things that I have been doing personally, and I haven't really talked much about this, is using it on portal work. And when I talk about portal work, is not just summoning spirits, but I've been working on efficiency of opening doorways. And what I've been using these boxes for is the ambient noise, or the noise of the specific realm that I'm trying to open. So yes, correct. If I'm working with Azazel, if I'm working with Abaddon, if I'm working with any of the different spirits, Asmodee, anything like that, I don't necessarily use it to speak with them, because I already have a direct link and connection. But whenever I work something where I'm opening a doorway, I leave that there to see if I can hear multiple voices of daemons in different places that I'm opening, or different strange sounds that are unearthly that I don't know what the hell they are. And I have had a lot of failures, but I've also had some successes that I am not ready to share just yet, but I am documenting it, and I'm slowly continuing to work and fine-tune so that I might be able to find a way to actually connect directly to other realms in a way that the spirit box was never meant to actually do.
That sounds really cool. When you were talking about the gateways, because I love opening gateways and and doorways for various realms. And when you said that, I was just envisioning, because I actually have I'm looking at, what's funny is I'm looking at my Azazel altar right now, and there's a spirit box on it right next to him, and he doesn't like tools like that. And I'm just like looking at my spirit box because I had it out because I was trying it the other day and asking my friend how to use this thing, or to show him if I was doing it right. And when I was looking at it, you mentioned the portals and the gateways. I was envisioning seeing the sound come out of it and having that sound as a portal. You know, in the old school Ghostbuster movies where they had the devices they'd open, and it's been a long time since I watched one of those, but I just remember it lighting up, and they'd either I guess they would catch spirits in that. But I was just looking at the spirit box, seeing it as opening as a gateway and having spirits come out through the sound. Because yeah, you were in the music industry. I was in the music industry as well. I grew up a scenester in the hardcore scene, and I've known a lot. I've had a lot of friends, well-known musicians, and dated a bunch. Had my group years, all that. So I understand the whole music scene and just how important it is to use that with magic, and how a lot of bands use the spirits to either get them to where they want to be, and just the experience of it all. And I was always a vocalist. I was a vocalist in metal bands, and, you know, spiritualism and just the dark aspects of it were a common theme there. And now I really use singing bowls and chimes, and just to set the tone to my rituals. So I do still use music in that way.
The singing bowls are amazing. I love them. I mean, the sound, it's, you know, just the same as your videos. It sends a chill up and down your spine, and it hits something in your brain that you can't do otherwise. And it really helps get you into the zone. I love that. And now going back to the using the sound coming out of the spirit box along with opening astral portals. Like I said, I don't want to dump too much into my work right now because this is the first anybody's ever heard me really speak of it on a public level. But if I can fine tune it, you know, eventually and get to the level that I hope to, it's a game changer. And some of the things that have come through have been just wild, wild beyond. And that's coming from, it's weird to say that because when you're already speaking and working with spirits, that's wild enough. But I mean, I'm talking like creatures that I don't believe are daemons, so to speak. They're almost animals of another realm that maybe are animals in that world. You know, like pterodactyl type sounds, which I had experienced before in ritual, but now I've been able to bring through into the box, which is amazing.
Maybe you opened a portal to inner Earth. I'm weird, and I like, well, yeah, of course I'm weird, but I like researching inner Earth and just the portal over the North Pole. And someone said in a video that they saw a pterodactyl come out of that. So that was the first thing I thought.
Well, so my other radio show that I do, my company that I run is Celestial Oddities, and one of our shows, our other radio show, is Celestial Oddities Pair of Normal Guys. And it's me and my partner Dan, where we talk about a lot of different content in the paranormal and supernatural realm. And we had an episode specifically on inner Earth civilizations and hollow Earth theory. And we talk about the fact of there being some sort of doorway or portal into inner Earth where the Earth is not a lava hot core but is actually hollow, and the fact that there are races and civilizations of human-like beings, animals, alienistic, races and things that live within this Earth, that this Earth is much bigger than we're told it is, and that within the Earth there are whole other places. So imagine if you dug a hole and it was hollow, that everything you've ever seen of this Earth, which is only a pin drop of the actual Earth, is just as big within it. And it explains why, you never see Yetis or Bigfoots, because they come back and capture their own, and a lot of them do rot quickly in the rainforest and things like that. But also because most of them have doorways that they go back through to go back into the inner earth. Now, I won't get too much into that tonight on the occult podcast, but we go over a lot of very, very out there theories, and we talked heavily on the inner earth and dinosaurs still existing, and it got pretty wild, and it always does.
For sure. I feel as though it is very occult, and it is a key topic, because even Nikola Tesla, he was a genius, and he said the earth just never ends. That was his theory. It just keeps going, And Belial, actually, when I was doing a lot of transformation work and channeling, he was the first daemon that I really got serious with working. He led me to Azazel. He was saying, you need to go to inner earth, and just giving me gnosis on that. And a few weeks ago, I was doing some of the gate walkings at the Necronomicon. I finally did the first one for the moon, and during that, I want to do a guided meditation on this, actually, on my YouTube channel. Had to do with me going inside the moon. So the revelation I got is, it's not always, okay, looking at a telescope or seeing if there's life on the planets. It's more of the planets have various dimensions and realms within them, and there's a lot of beings that live inside each of the planets.
Well, and that's a theory as well. We jumped in between several, and I mean, here's a very far-fetched, not I want to say far-fetched, but far out there, I should say, is imagine if we are already within the earth. Imagine if what we look at, as far as we can look, the earth is so large that we're already inside of it. And what we see as space is space. So the earth isn't just this rock that we're standing on. Earth is everything. So Earth Mother Gaia is the space. It's Pluto. It's Saturn. Everything is Earth. And we've just been kind of told differently. And you don't have to use that name if you don't want to, but say we're within the ball. And it's so large and hollow that when you look up, you see these other things floating within the gravity. But really, eventually, you would hit another wall, and that other wall is the other side of the inside of the ball. So if you were able to tunnel your way out, it would actually out of the ball. Now, it's hard to explain exactly how I mean by that, but that everything we've ever seen is actually all within inside the ball that we live in. So instead of it being hollow earth or inner earth, we are actually inside of it, and there's a whole other civilization on the outside. So reverse thoughts there. Like I said, we dug very deep on this episode of some of the theories and topics. We get pretty intense. So if you're listening out there, folks, and any of this excites you or you want to hear any more about this, search Celestial Oddities, which is our parent company, and just look for Pair of Normal Guys, and that's P-A-I-R, because there's two of us, and we did a play on words, so Pair of Normal Guys, and you'll find a lot of great content, other interviews with paranormal investigators from TV shows, from different channelers and people like that. We do have a segment of the show where we take on phone calls from all around the world to hear other people's experience with the supernatural and paranormal. And then, of course, we got this show, which is Knights of the Nephilim. So lots of great content coming your way. Make sure you check it out. Want to thank everybody that's tuning in right now, saying hello, Nikki. We got a couple different people. Hello, all. Greetings to you both. We have another one. I made it. Thank you for the invite. Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and leaving comments. If you have any questions for Nikki, let us know. Now, we've kind of been shooting the breeze for a little bit, and I want to jump into some questions for you, because I know that you, as you said earlier, you stay centered, so you're not specifically, full-blown left-hand path darkness, because you feel that you have to equal it out with some light, as I do myself. But a question I ask a lot of people is when you work with the darker elements, do you find, because you do enjoy this work, as do I, it is harder to connect with people who don't understand this world? I mean, do you run into a lot of problems where you have very far right practitioners that do not want to mingle with you because they just think of what you are involved in is absolutely taboo?
I haven't had that experience with far-right practitioners. It's more of normies in my past. I have so many friends now that are in the occult community, and also that are YouTubers. So I don't run into that problem anymore because I have so many friends now. It's to the point where I feel bad, I have to tell them, okay, well, we can video chat once a month, so I don't run into that situation exactly. But when I did have friends that I would talk to often that weren't in the occult, it would be hard to they were so brainwashed, it would be hard to just really get through them. And a lot of the time spiritualism is what I like to talk about. The worst was when I had a best friend who was hardcore Christian, and it was just, that's just a whole different story. But for some reason, I don't know if it's because my guides really protect, I mean, I know that my guides really protect me, but what always blows my mind is I don't really get the right-handers or the love and light people going after me or having a problem. Maybe I have some sort of invisibility, which I want to keep up and keep doing these invisibility rituals, because for some reason they either don't have a problem with me or they don't know I exist.
I think honestly, most of them just leave us alone. I think a lot of people are just like, you know what, I'm not even starting with these people, because I think it's one, they know that it's not going to do any good, and two, I think there might just be a fear factor there. That a lot of people, if they do are heavily against it, they don't want to speak on it because they think that we're direct, pillars of the devil. So you really don't want to upset that type of person, I guess. But I think you're right, and that was actually a second part of the question, is you had mentioned, a Christian friend of yours who had a really hard time with it. And I'd ask, S. Ben Kane and some of the other practitioners that have been on the show is, have you found it hard, I don't know if you're still connected with any really Christian friends or not, or family members or anything like that, but have you found it hard to stay close to them, or have you felt that those people have distanced themselves from you? Because I have some Christian friends that we just don't talk about theology or religion together because there's no point. We know we're going to upset each other. But I have had other ones that, we used to be cool in one sense or another, maybe not close friends, but they just will not speak to me now because of my choices in life over the last 17 years.
Okay, now I found a couple of examples I can think of people who I just am associated with just because it's just how it goes with our relationship. And there are a couple people who are scared out of their mind because I'm a witch, so they'll get really paranoid. And the thing is, they're not into the occult, but these two people I'm thinking about in particular, with their relation, they have had similar paranormal experiences to me at a young age, and they still have these. And there's one in particular where he thinks that I send demons his way all the time. So if he somehow gets a hold of my number, he'll say, make it stop, keep them away from me. This person tortured me for a good amount of years. So, I mean, a lot of these people just end up cursing themselves. And then there's another one to where my number is blocked and they don't want to talk to me. And I'm nothing but nice to them, and it's just, I want to be that good example. I even give them gifts and, do nice things just because of who this person is to me. I want to be a good role model, but they don't want anything to do with me. And any time that I have even brought up demons, they got to leave the house or the room, they're having paranormal experiences, but because they're not into sorcery, they're not in control of it. So they're victims to shadow people, parasites, demons, and very low level vibrational entities. And it's because they're aware of the spiritual nature of their environment, but they're not doing anything about it. They're not cleansing their environment. They aren't protecting themselves. They're not owning up and showing their place of power. And so they're being taken advantage of by entities, and it's not me, it's them, so they're just paranoid that they're getting cursed and whatnot.
Oh, and one of the things you said is shadow people. I always pointed out because I've been working on gathering materials on shadow people for a very, very long time. It's my plan to eventually someday release a book on it, but we'll see if it happens. But for folks out there that experience shadow people, it is usually because they are either sad, depressed, angry, down in life, paranoid, have other things going on. People that experience shadow people in most senses do so or have that happen because of their own mind state, which opens the doorway for these entities to come. They love fucking with people. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some that will just show up because they want to show up. I mean, they are very, very powerful beings, but some of them, the lower ranking ones, usually will just, as a parasitic entity would, just really mess with your life because you've opened the doorway and allowed them to do so. But it's funny that you say that, about people being paranoid of that, because that was actually one of the things I was going to ask you is, have you ever, and you've already answered it, have you ever had someone blame you for something that's happened to them? Because I've had that happen to me where I've gotten into arguments with people, and then next thing they know, they're like, I've been having these things happen. I know that you sent something my way. I know that you've been cursing me and this and that. And it's funny because I'm like, bro, if I cursed you, you wouldn't be on this earth anymore. And I'm like, I promise you, I've done nothing to you. It's your own imagination. I'm like, I've done nothing, but you'll know it if I do.
Oh, yeah. I guess here and there, it's really rare. About a week ago, someone started commenting on one of my social media, and they said, "Oh, sweetie, don't worry. I know what you did. You cursed me, and trust me, I got they told me that they placed a death curse on me." And I was just thinking, oh man, either this person's out of their mind or they're just extra paranoid. And it's just, I can't help but laugh at that because I would say 99.9% of people curse themselves, and not even just with being paranoid on curses. It's just when they think bad about themselves, they're just sulking in negativity. I will say though, I am on team shadow people. I'm very close with the shadow man with the hat. He's one of my main guides.
Yeah, the hat man. He's very powerful. He's one of the generals of the shadow army.
Yeah, so I have a shadow altar. I actually saw him once, and the funny thing about it is it was at a grocery store parking lot after a party, and he was one of the first beings I saw physically with my eyes, and I just saw the outline of a shadow with the hat, and I just thought, what the hell? It was just random out, because a lot of times grocery store parking lots are really bright and there's all sorts of cars around. Well, yeah, I saw the portal open. It was just the way that a bunch of colors formed as the black air moved and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, shadow people, they can, cause chaos. Most of the time it's because that chaos you needed to deal with. But at the same time, sometimes they can be malevolent. And, there was this, at my old apartment, there was this one shadow being that lived in my door, and she showed me her light side, actually, and how shadow people have light side. So instead, when she had her cloak on, when she was a full shadow, it'd be wearing the cloak in all black, and then her light side was pure white with magenta in the middle. Well, one time when she was in her dark side, she would tell me, just try and get me to get my ex-boyfriend to get upset, so she can feed off that, get him upset, do this, do that, so it can be like that. It's kind of playing with the chaos. So for the shadow man with the hat, he likes feeding off fear and anxiety. That's just the vampiric, sometimes the energy they like to feed on. But they can be very I like having the shadow people on my side, and they can be very beneficial to work with, because a lot of times with the shadow man with the hat, I don't even have to ask. He knows what I want, and he's 10 steps ahead of the game and gives it to me before I even realize or think about what I want. And yeah, so it's just, it's hard to put into words, but chaos can be beneficial because it is transformational. So it's not all good and all bad. I'm more into the non-dualist perspective, so I don't even like to say I'm left-hand path. I like to say I'm on my own path. But at the same time, I'd rather say I'm on left-hand path than right-hand path. If I had to pick, if someone forces me to put a label on it, I will definitely choose left over right, you know?
Well, I think I made a post earlier, and it was giving some love and a shout out to my friend Thomas Leroy of the Sect of the Horn God, who was a past episode of ours here on Knights of the Nephilim. So, folks, if you're listening out there, go listen to that episode at some point. It's an amazing episode. His organization, and is very influential on teaching people, the left-hand path and what I feel is a right way of doing so. And he has coined the term sinisterist. And sinisterist is a Satanist who doesn't fall into all the dogma and bullshit of what a lot of the groups that call themselves Satanists nowadays are. It's being someone who researches multiple backgrounds of theology and mythology and workings and ritual and context and research, so that you are a very versed spiritual Satanist. And whether that's an atheistic Satanist, whether that's a theistic Satanist, doesn't matter. It's about being versatile in that belief. So, I always call myself a left-handed path practitioner and a Satanist. I don't necessarily use the sinisterist, term too often, but that's exactly what I am. Is I don't just believe like it's Satan or nothing. No, there is so much more than that. My knowledge is vast in that, but I love the fact that he coined that term, because as you said, I don't know if I fit exactly into the left or to the right. I'm more of that sinisterist category, that I believe using dark work in a very well thought out, background checked and researched way. And he certainly has coined a very good term for that.
For sure. I'm subscribed to his channel, and I've heard him say that, and I like that. I like it a lot.
Yeah, he's a very, very smart man. He has a lot of great things to say. So check him out, folks, if you haven't already. I made a post for him earlier, just randomly to give them a shout out. I love what they do over there. Now, I'm going to ask one real quick question, and we're going to go to the commercial break to talk about our sponsors, and then come back, and we're going to actually jump in a little bit, a couple other questions I have for you to finish out a little bit about what work you do. But another question I had is, when you started out, into the occult side, did you think it was just going to be you kind of practiced at home and no one would really know who you were, and it was just going to be you kind of doing your own thing as a separate part of life? Or did you ever kind of expect it to turn into something where you have become a personality within the occult that has a lot of other practitioners who are friends with you, who work with you, who talk with you, and you have become kind of a known face that, you stand out, from your look, from the way you dress, from your voice in your videos, from your tattoo, of the X, which, you had gotten, I think, a couple years back, I think it was Manson inspired. Everything that you've done, you've painted a wonderful look for yourself that sticks out, that people can't forget, even if they were to want to, and I don't know why they would want to. So was that your plan, is to really become kind of a figure?
Yeah, it was actually not the plan. I've always been in the spotlight, so I did the band thing, the modeling thing. I was for a couple years I was actually an adult film actress. Then I got into, which is why I do cam modeling now for my job. And so I've always been in the spotlight and enjoyed it. And when I went through my major transformation with Belial, actually, we made a pact, and part of it had to do with my YouTube channel. So, and the reason why I used to do occult videos where I'm sitting there talking about my experiences, but there's so many other channels out there that do that, and that's awesome, educating people, teaching through sitting there and talking. And I wanted to have the viewer involved so they can actually feel the magic going from their head down to their spine, and relaxing and serving the viewer by, maybe they've had a really chaotic, busy day, and just having them get a different perspective where they're actually being part of a ritual in a lot of the videos. And I just like that. And it's about serving the community, and part of my purpose, which is, making it easier to fit in with my fellow occult friends. And, I'm going to rise to the top because it's part of my path. This feels right. This feels better from what I was doing in the past. And there's a lot that my guides are helping me out with and guiding me with on what I need to do here in this realm, because they're telling me the things I need to fix and work on in this physical realm are affecting the spiritual realm, and there's just a lot that I need to do with that. And so, for example, I like doing even negative energy plucking, to where there's a video where you can watch it. Say you're just filled with negative energy, a lot going on. You can watch this video where I'm literally, and speaking of shadow people and shadow man with the hat, I'm literally plucking your negative energy away in the video with portals and putting it into the shadow realm as an offering to the shadow people. And it's not all negativity. It's negativity that doesn't serve you, that doesn't have a lesson. So yeah, it just feels right, and it just kind of happened that way with the timing and everything.
Well, I think puzzle pieces fall into place when they're supposed to, and everybody's life's a little bit different on how that works, when that work, if it will. You have to make sure you do your own work. I mean, it's just like working with spirits. Is they'll certainly help you achieve your goals, but they won't give it to you. You have to be pushing for it yourself, and they're just the wind behind your sails. But you had, kind of align things for yourself, and they helped bring it to focus. And I think it's worked out well for you, as even though this might not have been originally what you had thought you would be doing, or a status that you thought you would be at, it's built, and it's going to continue to build, and it's unique, and I certainly enjoyed it. It was funny because I didn't know much about you, or, the type of videos that you made, until I had clicked on one of your videos that I'd seen randomly in a group or something like that. And it was like within a minute and a half of the video, and I didn't really pay attention to the title, I had chills and tingling going up and down my spine, my head, my body. And I'm like, damn, like this girl's voice, it sends chills up and down my spine in a good way. They're like, wow, it's very comforting. I'm like, I love the fact that it does that. And then I started looking into it, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense then, because of the type of videos you do. And then that's when I started following you, and I'm like, I love her work. I love the fact that you add that dark aesthetic and that look and the sound all together, as I said earlier, as like a package that stands out. There's nothing else like it, even though there are similar things. There's nothing specifically in this current. So I think you've done very well, and I think it's going to continue to grow. I think a lot of people that will discover you over time are going to love your work just like I have, and I think it's only going to lead to other doorways and other avenues for you.
Thank you so much. That's so great to hear.
Absolutely. I think, like I said, this is just the beginning of the journey, not anywhere near the end. And, real quick, folks, I do want to jump into my sponsors, or I'll end up getting too sidetracked on our conversation here, and we'll never get to do it. So let's pull up. I want to go over, and I'm just going to get all three of them their spotlights right now. First and foremost, I want to go over Limitless Liberation, and I always read this from their owner, Elena's point of view. And that's going to be, Limitless Liberation was inspired by both Lucifer and Belial. Lucifer has been with me most of my life, as far back as I can remember. Belial and I started working when I was going through a very difficult part of my life. He completely turned mine and my family's life around for the better in a very short period of time. In return, he asked me to create Charger for him. He showed me the design, so I created the first Charger for Belial, and Lucifer wanted one next. From there, I had spirits lining up with requests for magical items. Some are control freaks, others will just inspire. They all are so individually different, but every single item created has power within it. Each item operates on many levels. They operate as an anchor for your spirit and your workings with, or thus aiding, easier connection between the two of you. They also operate like a power cell or battery, where they already come with an inherent energy to them, but they become stronger as you feed them and pull from them during ritual as well to strengthen your workings. Limitless Liberation continues to grow to honor the spirits we love to work and build relationships with. Ladies and gentlemen, her work is absolutely phenomenal, gorgeous, heartfelt. You feel the energy coming from it just by looking at it. I suggest everyone pick up something for their ritual chamber or for their loved one if you are not a practitioner and you just like listening. If you know someone who is a practitioner, pick them up a piece. You'll love it. Even if it's for meditation, whether ritual or meditation, you can't go wrong. And you can check her work out at etsy.com/shop/limitless liberation. Again, that's etsy.com/shop/limitless liberation. My second sponsor I love to give a shout out to tonight is Goetic Impressions, which formed as a partnership between Ben, who is Frater Adamastor, and Sor Alara, with the intention to bring ritual-accurate magical tools to the public for affordable prices. One of the largest barriers to entry for new practitioners looking to experiment with the magic of the Western grimoires is how expensive and difficult to find real ritual tools are. They first launched with a Kickstarter to bring their Goetic medallions to life, and since then have also expanded with an Enochian toolset, and most recent a Satanic medallion and altar set, which is currently live on Kickstarter. With over 20 years of magical and occult experience across a range of traditions, Goetic Impressions is the place to find affordable, high-quality ritual items. You can check them out at goeticimpressions.com, and if you're looking for a promo code for 10% off your overall order, you got to message me, like the Knights of the Nephilim podcast page, and give it a share, and I'll hook you up with 10% off. I make my fans do a little bit of legwork before they get that discount. So if you want that, like I said, like Knights of the Nephilim, give it a share, message me, and I will certainly hook you up with a promo code. They do phenomenal work as well, and they just launched their new angel medallions, which are gorgeous. They're from the Heptameron, and if anybody's ever worked with that grimoire, it's very powerful angel magic, and they have worked heavily on making some gorgeous, talismans and amulets from that specific grimoire. And then lastly, we have our friend James Ralston, and he also goes by the Telemancer, amazing ritual toolmaker. He has been a member of the Order of the Voltec starting in 2008, progressing through several degrees, and last serving as the head of the Outer Order. The Order of the Voltec is an offshoot of a pylon of the Temple of Set, originated to study and practice several forms of the sorceress methods centering on techniques used by Mexican and Central American priests and magicians. Many of the techniques involved were popularized in the late 1970s and 80s by one of my favorite authors and writers, which is Carlos Castaneda. Now, where did I lost myself here? His interest expanded to the degrees that he chose to become an apprentice of several Appalachia's premier craftspeople and learn the arts of metalcraft to produce power objects for both himself and select patrons. He has been doing talismanic metalworking for over 8 years. He works with silver, gold, pewter, and some other metals from time to time and occasionally. He creates talismans, pendants, rings, and altarpieces, almost all exclusively custom commission made, and you can check him out at facebook.com/the Telemancer, followed by the number 1, and again that's facebook.com/the Telemancer, and then the number 1. And folks, if you've never seen his work, check it out because it is gorgeous. All three of these companies are amazing, or I wouldn't have them a part of the show. But make sure you check them out, give them a follow, give them a like, pick up something today for you and your loved ones, and we'd really appreciate it. Much love to you guys. So, all right, folks, for the last hour and 12 minutes, we have been hanging out with Necro Nicki, talking about who she is, how she became a occultist and practitioner, what led her to this path, a little bit about her workings that she does with her meditation videos, about her path as a musician, working with shadow people, ghosts, paranormal, and everything in between. We covered a lot of subjects tonight, which we love to do on this show. Now, I want to jump a little bit into what your philosophies are, because we all feel a little bit differently on what spirits are, what deities and entities are. Are they all just figments of our own mind? Are they separate individual beings? Are they all one current that comes with different masks, meaning is Azazel and Abaddon, the same entity, but they come to us in different forms? I like to always pick every occultist brain and say, what exactly is your thoughts on these type of beings? Do you feel that they're a part of your own psyche and mind, or do you feel more like myself, a theistic point of view, that they are separate?
Love the question, and before I answer, I just wanted to say I'm currently getting a piece by Elena for Limitless Liberation, and she's making me a cube for Azazel, and amazing customer service. I'm a high maintenance customer, I will admit that, and it feels nice to be taken care of and Because when I was in sales and when I was a server back in the day, I gave the best service, so I kind of expect that. And she goes above and beyond. It's comforting the way she's listening to everything Azazel wants. He wants black and green swirled with a black obsidian infused hexagon and his sigil in it with gold flakes in the cube. And I can't wait. She's showing me pics throughout the process, and I'm absolutely thrilled with the experience I'm having so far. It's my first piece by her. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm actually going to be using that cube in one of my videos to do tapping and to get some of the tingles, where I'm going to be chanting Azazel and incorporating ASMR with that wonderful piece that she's working on for me. And to answer your question, I feel as though the spirits, it really depends on what spirit, because I do believe there are egregores where people can create spirits. And I've had Azazel, I talk about him a lot because he's one of my main guides. He had me even create my own spirit, where I've created a shadow spirit with another astral deity. And I can see how some writers will say that, it's a mask that we're wearing because you can just vibe with the deity. Say it's a god of war. You learn about that warrior aspect of yourself. And so I can see how being possessed by them can really transform you. At the same time, I think it really depends on the deities, because I've seen deities that I didn't evoke with my physical eyes. I've seen some through lucid dreaming. And then some of the same deities in different aspects. So for example, Azazel once, when I was really angry, he appeared to me like in the Star Wars movie, where it was a zoom, there was a hologram TV screen in the middle of the air, and he looked very similar to the Baphomet. And, I've seen that, and then I've seen him in meditation to where he was a dragon snake. So I feel as though I don't like putting labels on myself, and with that said, I don't really like putting labels on the other spirits, because they can morph and have different aspects. Just like myself, I can relate to certain animals and I have different aspects, but to me, all my aspects are me, all in one. And in some of my videos, I've talked about this where, demon, I'm not a huge fan of the word demon. A lot of times I say daemon, which means it's just a benevolent spirit, actually. And then the church changed it to demon and made it look bad, so people weren't empowered by that, because the church in most cases wants your money and they want power over you and how you think, which is a lot of what's going on with cancel culture. We're pretty much back into the Puritan times, where they're just trying to cancel people for even things that they didn't even mean to be bad. And, I don't like to fight against the flow, because I like how things are changing. I want more compassion in the world, and people are being more aware of things, but at the same time, some things are just ridiculous. And so I'm not really big on saying demons, angels, because I have various tarot decks too. I have way too many tarot decks. I have like a daemon tarot deck, an angel tarot deck. And what I find interesting is a lot of the same spirits are on each of the decks, even though one's supposed to be a demon deck, one's supposed to be an angel deck. And so a lot of them just have different aspects. Like earlier when I was talking about that shadow person that was in my door, they have a light and a dark side. And so does everyone, and every spirit has a light and a dark side. So the English language, it's good to study etymology and where words actually come from and their original meaning, because even books get lost in translation and words change over time. And with that said, it's just sometimes it's a loaded question or more of a loaded answer, where, a lot of civilizations have similar gods. So, for example, there's a lot of occultists will say Ishtar, Astarte, Lucifer, Venus, and Lilith even are all the same. So it really just depends, and that's an example. People don't have to, it's just an opinion, and I'm not even 100% on that, believing that, because a lot of the times when I work with each of those deities, they have they appear to me different and have a different aspect. I like working with more of the ancient Sumerian, Babylonian type of deities. So there are similarities, and I'll just kind of go with my own gnosis. Lucifer, he told me that he actually is Venus, not the planet Venus. I believe the planets have spirits, so I just think everyone should go off not what a book says, unless your intuition says you sit with it, and just over time you'll understand that labels aren't necessary. The English language is pretty limited, and the spiritual realm, there's a lot more shape-shifting. It's a lot harder for me to shape-shift into a frog right in front of you, as opposed to how I would do that in the spiritual world. That'd be really easy. So that's my answer.
No, I got you. No, I'm following with you. I'm just listening to everything you had to say there. It's very subjective. I mean, some people, I've never been one to believe that they're fully just myself. I believe that they might be connected with aspects of ourself, and they can tap into that, open up doorways within our own psyche and mind. But I am not from that atheistic point of view that they are all just me, and I'm just really in the ritual chamber playing with myself. I do believe that, they are forces, whether they're, truly beings that walk around, and right now they're walking around having their own party in their own realm. I don't know about that, but I believe that they're more than just parts of my own mentality and my own mind and your mind, because I have seen them do things independent of my mind. Now, you could say that that's my subconscious, but I don't believe that. I mean, I believe they are currents. Now, the big question that always comes up, and you've already given your input on that, is some people will say, well, they're all one current and it's just different masks of the same current, and that could be. Maybe they're just different personality traits of the same dark force. But either way, my personal feelings is that force is aside from us. It's not all just us. I have a hard time believing it's all just in my own head. I like to think I'm pretty good at imagining things, but I'm not that good. So, no, I really appreciate your input on that. It's a question I always love hearing different practitioners' answers on that and what their thoughts are.
Yeah, because we're on the same page with that. Yeah, it's just, there's so much information to even try and touch the surface of that question. It's because it's a really good question. And yeah, I definitely agree. One thing that really kind of proved that to me, because that's a good thing to contemplate in this field, which are ghosts. Because to me, ghosts are spirits that are such as that one ghost, which was proven that it was around. Not just me, but I've had plenty of experiences where my roommates are saying, why, when you're not home, your room to your door opens and slams in my face? Or I've had that ghost that actually was attached to the piano. It was a whistling ghost, and I couldn't tell my roommates because at the time they were scared of that type of thing. Well, they still are, but I just had to keep it a secret. And then a guest that was staying over on the couch said, you hear that whistling too all the time. It was a whistling he'd go in the corners and whistle. And I didn't tell anyone there about that. So I've just had so many ghost experiences to where, okay, if people who are just so attached to either, the ghosts that are attached to the cemetery or their loved ones or a certain object, I have a spirited doll myself. I mean, if their spirit can linger and we can even prove and have multiple witnesses that they're around, why wouldn't gods be able to do the same type of thing in other realms and have their own spirit, higher up forces that aren't so low level, because ghosts are awesome, but a lot of them are still kind of trapped in this. It's almost an in-between type of realm because they're spiritual, but they're still, attached to lower level things.
Well, from my research that I've done is there's several platforms, we'll call it. And then when you pass, we often move up. Not always. It depends on where you're at. I mean, sometimes people skip the next rung up and you jump higher. But usually it follows suit that we move up, 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 up. Or you don't have to use up as a direction, but you get what I'm saying to put context to it. Up, 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 up. And when you move to the next platform, that is more of the ghost realm, the astral realm of you no longer have a physical body. That the astral realm is very similar to dreaming. And I love this concept that when you dream, a lot of times we dream and we see people in our dreams that we've never met before. And we always find it strange. And people always say, well, I always have dreams of people I've never seen in real life. Well, that's because that's other people dreaming. And when you dream, that realm that you go to is the same realm you go to when you die. At least the first level or the first platform. So you are seeing actually in your dreams the astral spirits of other people who have once lived that are now dead, and also the astral spirits of other people in their bed sleeping right now, journeying to the astral realm. And that realm is very close to the physical realm, and that's why they do still kind of tread here. That's why they do still interact with things. A lot of them don't know they're fully dead because it's so similar to the physical realm, other than having a physical body, that they're sometimes kind of lost in that. Now, there is ways of moving up to the next realm above that where you're a little bit even more distant, a little bit more and a little bit more, because the higher frequencies that we vibrate in, the lesser density we have. So right now we are very slow moving frequency vibrational beings, and that's why we're so solid and solidified. But as you pass and you die, that gray silver cord that connects you from your physical body to your astral light body, your spheric body, that breaks that cord and snaps, and your physical body dies and the astral body is still moving around. But that's a higher frequency version of yourself, and then you can go higher and higher and higher, and the higher you get, we can't perceive it as humans because we don't operate that fast of a rate. But that's when you start getting into the higher frequencies of gods and daemons and demons and daimons and everything in between, that these beings have to slow their vibrational frequency way, way down to work with us. So when we call upon them and they show up in the smoke, when they show up in the censer, in scrying and all of those things, you are really meeting them halfway. You're raising your vibrational frequency much faster of a rate to kind of get towards their plane, but you're also pulling them down from their high vibrational frequency to a slower one, and you meet halfway in between. And that's why in a normal everyday we don't see them just walking around us, because maybe they are, but we can't perceive that because of how fast of a rate they're moving. And it goes that way the whole way up the spectrum. It goes back to the Hermetic principle of polar opposites, polarization, that everything has a degree. There is no such thing as hot or cold. There's just different degrees of that. If you look at a rock is a very dense thing. It's a very slow moving vibration. That's why it's so solid, even though nothing's actually solid in real life. But you look at something like a god or a spirit, a daemon. You've mentioned Azazel many times. I mean, he is going to be moving millions and millions of times faster than a rock because he is moving at that frequency. So not to get too crazy out there, folks, for you, but that's how I've always taken it. In a lot of context that I've found through research that I've done is that when we summon these spirits, it is a It's a middle ground of us raising our vibration. And that's why you're such a daze and a trance, because you're sending your mind to a higher frequency than your body's usually used to operating at. but you're also very much pulling that spirit. You have to concentrate on pulling them here to you. And when you're pulling them, yes, you're pulling them in, but you're also pulling them down, slowing their vibration. So something to ponder on, folks. I think you'll find a lot of resonance with that, and look further into it. It's amazing. There's so much more to it than that, but we're running out of time, so we can't go too deep into that. But before we go any further, Nicki, I want to ask you, what can we expect from Necro Nicki coming up? What projects are you working on? Where can we check you out at? And who would you like to thank?
Okay, so I have a lot of videos coming out. The last few days, I finished 4 ASMR videos and have them all edited. I release videos on my YouTube channel, Necro Nicki, every Saturday. It feels so good to be ahead of schedule, and I want to tell you about them, but I kind of don't, because I want them to be a surprise. I usually put a really unique twist on every video, and there tends to be an occult theme, unless it's very rare if it doesn't have an occult theme. One of them doesn't, that I did, but it's because it's a no talking video, and but there might be some occult objects in it. And yeah, I'm just focusing very much on my YouTube channel, and I've been doing a lot of collabs. Besides this one, I did 2 other collabs this month. I have some more planned. I have another one planned for next month. I'm teaching a class. If you really want to get updated on what I'm doing, I recommend following my Instagram, Necro Nicki, and I post stories. So, for example, this episode of this podcast, I'm going to be posting a story to have my followers reach this and listen to this, because this was great and a fun time. And so that's one way to get a hold of me as well. And I'd really like to thank everyone who took the time to listen. And, I really want to put an impact on this community and reach as much as possible. And I really want to serve you guys. So I hope my videos have a positive impact. And I'm just forever grateful for anyone who supports me in any way, shape, or form. And that's that.
And that's that. No, we appreciate you as well. Continue to do the great work that you have been doing. We love your work. I know I speak for everyone out there listening in right now. I do want to thank everyone out there that has tuned in. Click the like, share, and follow button, as I mentioned earlier. Spread it around to your family and friends. Call your grandma, tell her to listen in. She'll love it. And then just get us out there. The more that you do that, the more people we can reach, the more that we can spread the word and the gnosis of the occult and of the left-hand path practices, of just magic in general. And we really appreciate it. If you have any suggestions for the show, anything you want to see us do differently, anything you want to see us not do, any guests that you want to see us have on the show, you can send me a personal message at Freighter Crow on Facebook, at Knights of the Nephilim on Facebook, or Celestial Oddities at gmail.com. You can send me an email. I get back to everyone daily. There's never a message that's not answered. I'm very quick on my responses. You can follow any one of those pages that I mentioned, whether it be Instagram, which is Darkness and Divination, or it can be Knights of the Nephilim podcast on Facebook, or Freighter Crow on Facebook. If you follow those, there's a lot of great posts, a lot of great knowledge. I certainly put out things daily, and I always have something for everybody. I want to talk a little bit about our upcoming guests real quick, and then we'll close out for the evening. Next week, we have an opening. We had a guest that had to change his schedule, so I am looking to fill that. If I can do so in a proper amount of time, then we will be having someone on kind of as a surprise guest, because we don't know who that is just yet. If I can't fill it within the next couple of days, we will have a bye week next week. But the following week, on the 25th, we are bringing on Anasa Rose to talk about KOTN magic and sorcery. The 8th of April, we're bringing on Jennifer Vatsa to talk about the poison path. I am a big advocate and lover of the poison path, so I'm really looking forward to talking about some different plant magic. And then the following week, I have a very interesting guest that I can't wait to bring on. His name is Michael Herring. Michael Herring is known as a practitioner and a very intelligent, awoken mind, but he's also known as the man who doesn't blink. And it's just like it sounds, folks. He doesn't blink. He doesn't blink his eyes. How's that possible? I have no idea, but we're going to find out when we talk to him. He doesn't blink. He hasn't blinked in years, he said. And he has videos showing this. It's very peculiar. So I look forward to talking to this man. He told me that there's no use for the human being to have to blink their eyes. It's just kind of something we're programmed. So I look forward to finding that out along with you guys, and you can join us on those episodes. Like I said, hit us up, share us around, and we really appreciate you tuning in tonight. Necro Nicki, it has been a pleasure getting to pick your brain, find out a little bit more about you, and I look forward to having you on again down the road.
It was wonderful anytime, and thank you to all the listeners. Bye-bye.
Catch you next time, guys, on Nights of the Nephilim. This is Freighter Crow. Have a good night.